Life Science. This lesson is looking inside cells. When you look at a cell through a microscope, you can usually see the outer edge of the cell. Sometimes you can also see smaller structures within the cell. Each kind of cell structure has a different function within the cell. In this lesson, we will learn about the structures that the plant and animal cells have in common. We will also learn about some of the differences between plant and animal cells. So this picture shows a plant cell. Plants have a cell wall. The cell wall is a rigid layer that surrounds the cells of plants and some other organisms. The cells of animals, in contrast, do not have cell walls. A plant cell wall helps protect and support the cell. The cell wall is made mostly of a strong material called cellulose. The cell wall still allows many materials to pass through it. Those materials include water and oxygen. The cell membrane. Think about how a window screen allows air to enter and leave a room, but keeps insects out. One of the functions of the cell membrane is something like that of a screen. The cell membrane controls which substances pass into and out of a cell. Everything a cell needs, such as food particles, water, and oxygen, enter through the cell membrane. Waste products leave the same way. In addition, the cell membrane prevents harmful materials from entering the cell. All cells have membranes. In plant cells, the cell membrane is just inside the cell wall. In cells without cell walls, the cell membrane forms the border between the cell and its external environment. The nucleus. A cell doesn't have a brain, but it has something that functions in a similar way. A large oval structure called the nucleus acts as the cell's control center, directing all of the cell's activities. The nucleus is the largest of many tiny cell structures called organelles. These organelles carry out specific functions within a cell. The nucleus is surrounded by a membrane called the nuclear envelope. Materials pass in and out of the nucleus through the pores in the nuclear envelope. The material on the inside of the nucleus is called the chromatin. Here we can see the nucleolus. So notice the small round structure in the nucleus. This structure is called the nucleolus. It's where ribosomes are made. Here are different locations where ribosomes are found within the cell. Ribosomes are small grain-shaped organelles that produce proteins. Proteins are important substances inside of cells. Most of the cell consists of a thick, clear, gel-like fluid. This gel-like fluid is called cytoplasm. The cytoplasm fills the region between the cell membrane and the nucleus. The fluid of the cytoplasm moves constantly within the cell, carrying along the nucleus and the other organelles that have specific jobs. The mitochondria. Floating in the cytoplasm are rod-shaped structures that are nicknamed the powerhouses of a cell. Mitochondria convert energy stored in food to energy the cell can use to live and function. This energy is called adenosine triphosphate. The shortened version of adenosine triphosphate is ATP. The endoplasmic reticulum. The endoplasmic reticulum often is called the ER. It is an organelle with a framework of membranes that produce many substances. Ribosomes dot some parts of the ER, while other parts float in the cytoplasm. The ER helps the attached ribosome make proteins. These newly made proteins and other substances leave the ER and move to another organelle. Plant cells also contain a central vacuole. This is an area where water is stored. I'm sure you have seen where plants wilt. The wilting that occurs to plants is due to a shrinking of the central vacuole. As plants run out of water, the water that is found in the central vacuole is lost and used up by the plant, and therefore the plant cells shrink. The chloroplasts. The chloroplasts make food for the cell using energy from the sun. That food is then sent to the mitochondria, and it is converted into energy. A typical plant cell contains green structures. These green structures are the chloroplasts. Chloroplasts capture energy from sunlight and change it to a form of energy that the cell can use in making food. Animal cells don't have chloroplasts, but the cells of plants and other organisms do. Chloroplasts make leaves green because leaves contain many chloroplasts. This picture is a picture of an animal cell. Animal cells have a number of different organelles, along with many similar organelles also found in plant cells. We're going to look at some of the different organelles found inside of animal cells. The first one is a lysosome. Notice the sac-like organelle. These organelles are called lysosomes. They contain substances that break down large food particles into smaller ones. Lysosomes also break down old cell parts and release the substances so they can be used again. You can think of a lysosome as a cell's recycling center. The cell membrane is also found on plant cells. However, it is slightly inside of the cell wall. The cell membrane makes up the exterior structure of all animal cells. Again, the nucleus is also found inside of animal cells. It is the control center. The Golgi apparatus is also found inside of plant cells. We're looking at it here inside of an animal cell. As proteins leave the endoplasmic reticulum, they move to a structure that looks like a flattened sac in tubes. This structure can be thought of as the cell's warehouse. The Golgi apparatus receives proteins and other newly formed materials from the ER. It packages them and it distributes them to other parts of the cell or to the outside of the cell. This arrow is pointing at the nuclear pore. The nuclear pore is the area where materials exit the nucleus. This area is pointing at the nuclear envelope. The nuclear envelope is the membrane that surrounds the nucleus. So thinking back to all of those different structures of the cells that we just looked at, let's take some time to identify which ones are found in which type of cell, plant cells or animal cells. So a cell wall. Cell walls are only found in plant cells. Cell membranes can be found in both plant and animal cells. Cytoplasm is found in both plant and animal cells. The nucleus, found in both plant and animal cells. Mitochondria, are found in both. Chloroplasts are only found in plant cells. Ribosomes are found in both plant and animal cells. The ER found in both plant and animal cells. Vacuoles are found in both, but remember there is a difference. Plant cells have a large central vacuole, whereas animal cells have small vacuoles in many locations around the cell. The Golgi apparatus is found in both, and lysosomes are only found in animal cells. So how do cells work together in an organism? Plants and animals, including you, are multicellular, which means that you are made of many cells. Single-celled organisms are called unicellular. In a multicellular organism, the cells often look quite different from one another. They also perform different functions. All cells in a multicellular organism must carry out key functions, such as getting oxygen to remain alive. However, cells are also specialized. That is, they perform a specific function that benefit the entire organism. These specialized cells share what can be called a division of labor. One type of cell does one kind of job, while other types of cells do other jobs. For example, red blood cells carry oxygen to other cells that may be busy digesting your food. Just as specialized cells differ in function, they also differ in structure. So looking at this picture, we can see a number of specialized cells. These cells come from both plants and animals. Each type of cell has a distinct shape. For example, a nerve cell has thin finger-like extensions that reach toward other cells. These structures help nerve cells transmit information from one part of your body to another. The nerve cell's shape wouldn't be helpful to a red blood cell. So looking at each of these numbered pictures, let's try to identify what they are based on their function. So an animal cell that can bend and squeeze easily through narrow spaces. That looks as if number 1 would meet that criteria. This would be either an artery or a vein, and the blood cells are squeezing through there. An animal cell that can relay information to other cells. We're looking for a branching network that would allow that to occur. We can see here that there are some cells with long branching networks extending out. So our animal cells that rely on information from other cells would be number 4. Number 2, plant cells that can make food. We have plant cells. We can easily identify those based on the fact that they look like a brick wall. And then inside we can see all the little chloroplasts. So number 2 are plant cells that can make food. Number 3, these are plant root cells that can absorb water and minerals from the soil. So they are long projections that allow water to be absorbed. And then finally, number 4, we already talked about that one. A division of labor occurs among specialized cells in an organism. It also occurs at other levels of organization. In multicellular organisms, cells are organized into tissues, organs, and organ systems. A tissue is a group of similar cells that work together to perform a specific function. For example, your brain is made mostly of nerve tissue, which consists of nerve cells that relay information to other parts of your body. An organ, such as your brain, is made of different kinds of tissues that function together. For example, the brain also has blood vessels that carry the blood that supplies oxygen to your brain cells. Your brain is part of your nervous system, which directs body activities and processes. An organ system is a group of organs that work together to perform a major function. As this picture shows, the level of organization in an organism becomes more complex from cell to tissue to organ system. So looking at this picture, can we make a comparison between the organization of our body and the organization of our school? The cell might be an individual desk within a classroom. Tissue would be the classroom itself with a whole bunch of desks found in it. The organ would be similar to the hallway with a bunch of classrooms found throughout the hallway. The organ system would be similar to our middle school, where we have a whole bunch of different classrooms in our hallways, which we only have one in maybe a small portion. And then the organism would be like our large building, like our school.